Hello and welcome everyone to Ukrainian Blockchain Hub. I am Maria Vovchuk, and today I'm really glad to have here the CSO of Blockstream, Samson. Samson, hi.
Hi, thanks for having me, Maria.
And thank you for also joining this interview. Actually, a lot of things have been happening for the past 6 months at Blockstream. The new updates for Liquid, the sidechain, which actually allows now, as I've heard before, transaction happen, the final settlement for one transaction to happen in 2 minutes instead of 10. But still, my question is, in this case, the parties which will help this transaction to be finally settled are defined and they are centralized. So in this case, are the decentralization is sacrificed for the sake of transaction speed?
Yes, I think you could say that. So Liquid is a federated exchange chain. So it's meant for inter-exchange settlement, and a large portion of our Federation members are cryptocurrency exchanges. So if you're a trader, typically you want to move funds on and off exchange quickly or between exchanges. So I think it's an acceptable trade-off that it has a federated chain, and you're putting your funds on an exchange if you want to trade. So you can accept the trade-off in trusting a federation with your funds as well.
You've been recently spoken at Upbeat Developer Conference 2018, and you said that there are a lot of updates happening with Liquid. And also, what is actually the next stage of Liquid evolution?
Right. So we announced earlier this year at Consensus that we have Liquid securities rolling out. So we're getting ready to launch that this quarter. So we're talking with a lot of parties that we're working with to roll out the first batch of securities on the Liquid blockchain. That's kind of the next evolution, taking the issued assets feature of Liquid and using it to trade securities.
I see. So a lot of there are claims that Blockstream is actually taking over all the major Bitcoin developments. And there are claims that you're kind of establishing a monopoly in this area. What would you say to that?
Well, I think that largely has to do with a misunderstanding of how open source software development works. So we have one full-time Bitcoin Core contributor, Dr. Peter Woolley, and he works a lot on Bitcoin Core. That's his full-time job. And a lot of our other developers do contribute from time to time, but I wouldn't say we've taken over because we have one of 400 so developers working on this thing. And there are a few other organizations that support Bitcoin Core development, like Chaincode, DCI, and others.
But in this case, you may say that you are one of the main contributors.
I don't think we are anymore. We do contribute a lot, but I think we contribute more to the Lightning Network than to Bitcoin Core right now.
Talking about Lightning Network, like a month ago, news happened that a bug was actually, a serious bug was discovered which proved that Lightning Network is vulnerable, and actually C-Lightning was affected the most. Although the bug was patched later, but still it raised concerns. Is Lightning Network might be as secure as Bitcoin blockchain as well itself?
Well, Lightning is very different from Bitcoin in and of itself. It's a layer 2 scaling solution. So even if it has a bug in it, it doesn't impact Bitcoin, which is kind of like the best way to build a decentralized system, which is in layers. That way, if there is a security vulnerability in one layer, it doesn't affect the other layer.
That's true. But at the same time, a lot of Bitcoins were stolen at that time.
I don't think any coins were stolen, actually. There are 3 implementations, and I don't think that any one was more vulnerable than the others. It was just all 3 did not check this. They did not check if a node accepting a channel didn't check for funding transactions. I think they all patched that at around the same time and rolled out new versions. So by the time the vulnerability was fully disclosed, everyone had already a version that had it fixed, and they had already told their user base to upgrade.
So in this case, the news about a lot of Bitcoins were stolen from the Lightning Network after the bug was discovered is not true.
I haven't heard anything about that. But the Lightning Network is still in its early days, and the developers do tell people don't put more money in than you want to risk losing, because it's still a very early tech and it's still in its infancy.
Okay, when do you think Lightning Network will be operating like as it was planned to?
Well, there is no real plan to. So again, this is a decentralized system built with open source developers. So there is no central party saying Lightning is now ready for everyone to use. I think different implementations will say they are more confident that it's ready for primetime usage. But so far, I don't think we're there yet. There's still a lot more work to be done.
Okay, may you announce some of the latest developments which can prove that Lightning Network will be secure to use?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I mean, is there already some developments in Blockstream for the Lightning Network which may prove in the future that it will be really secure to use?
Well, as with all software, it's an ongoing process. So I don't think you reach a point in time where it's suddenly secure to use. There's just more stability and more battle testedness of the software.
Okay, so still tell a few again next steps for Liquid, which will be happening in the next few months in more detail.
So for Liquid, like I mentioned, our focus is on Liquid securities and rolling that out with our partners. And we also announced recently that we can now do a Lightning Network on top of Liquid as well. And down the road, we hope to have Lightning networks working on Liquid issued assets. So you can issue a token in Liquid and create a Lightning network on that token.
I see. Talking now about not only Bitcoin, but also about Ethereum, because a lot of actually announcements were from you about Ethereum. First, you said that Ethereum is actually a technological dead end, but later you appeared to be a so-called Ethereum lover, if I'm not mistaken. So what is your true, how do you truly feel about Ethereum?
I don't know. I stand by what I said. It is a technological dead end. I don't have any Ether and I don't have any Ethereum tokens, contrary to what people are saying.
So this was not correct, that you're Ethereum lover.
I think there was a Coin Jazeera article joking about that, but it's just a joke piece.
I see, but in this case, it's really interesting to know whether somebody actually wanted, maybe you change your mind.
Probably not. Maybe I'll like Ethereum 3.0.
I see. Talking about now, one of the, well, purportedly most secure wallets now for Bitcoin is Blockstream Green. May you say it that this is really one of the most secure wallets at the market?
I think it's one of the better wallets out there. The team behind it, led by Lawrence Nahum, our chief architect, they're very security minded and they do a lot of testing.
We met at Blockchain Cruise 2019.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So I personally would recommend Blockstream Green. I think it's a great wallet. It's very secure. It's good for the average person to safely secure their funds because it can incorporate hardware wallets into it. And recently we added an update where we now support Tor natively in the app. So it's better for privacy all around.
Talking about the privacy, is one of the most private really wallets according to the announcements which I heard. But will you also be working on it so the transaction would not be traceable?
Well, if you're running over a Tor, then it's less traceable because you're obfuscating your IP address. But still, I think the safest way is to run your own Bitcoin Core node at home, because then if you're running Tor over that, with that, then it's much more secure because you still need to use Blockstream servers when you're using Blockstream Green or with any other mobile wallet.
How do you feel about CoinJoin services?
I think it's a good step because we don't have fungibility at the base layer for Bitcoin itself. So the next best thing is to encourage people to do CoinJoin transactions because it makes everyone's transactions more private.
That's true. But on the other hand, the regulators now are claiming that talking about untraceable Bitcoin transactions, that they would consider them quite often to be from the black market. How do you feel about that?
Well, I guess that's really a question. What do you think of privacy? Is privacy a human right, or should no one have any privacy? What do you think?
In this case, I may say that there are very contradictory opinions to that, because on the one hand, I think everybody would like their transactions still to be private. But on the other hand, it raised concerns. Do you want them to be private because you don't want anybody to watch your transactions? Or on the contrary, have you used them for some illicit activity?
Mm-hmm.
So
But the same could be said.
Where's the balance here?
The same could be said of any technology. So should your email be private? Because you could use your email to do some illegal activity,
Mm-hmm.
or it could also be personal. So the question is, should anything be private, really? And it's a fundamental question.
So the question to you, how do you feel your Bitcoin transactions to be traceable?
Well, I think financial privacy is important, because if you cannot make a transaction, a financial transaction privately, then you really have no freedoms, right? I think I saw an example somewhere someone was talking about, you might have the freedom to protest and organize to protest, but if you can't pay to move yourself to that location, then that right is not really any good, right?
Mm-hmm. I see. In your case, how do you think privacy should be at the core level of Bitcoin blockchain?
Well, I think there are a lot of tools at everyone's disposal to improve privacy, like using CoinJoin, or using coin selection, or running your own node, or running a node connected to Blockstream satellite. But that's not really for everyone. So I think the best case scenario is that we do have privacy at Bitcoin's base layer, so it's evenly distributed and on by default for everyone.
Okay, thank you. Talking now about your block, probably. You started with additionally 3 presenters, hosts, Magical Crypto Friends. Tell us more about this video blog, or what is the aim of it, actually?
Right, so we have a show. It's me, Charlie Lee, Ricardo Spagni, and Whale Panda. So we do a show every couple of weeks, and we talk about the current trends, and we give our perspective on things that are going on.
You're talking mainly on Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Monero, or else as well?
I think we talk more about Bitcoin, but once in a while, because they do have their projects, that we do end up talking about Bitcoin and Monero.
So talking about Monero, because it's really privacy focused, it's focused on the fungibility of Monero. In this case, how do you feel about the privacy focused cryptocurrencies?
I think it's a good thing that we can have these cryptocurrencies that exist and are experimenting with the tech. So I think Monero was one of the first to roll out Ring CT and use it in a real production environment. And it's just good to have people working on privacy tech in general that is delivering on the promise. So there are a lot of privacy coins out there that are not really private, like Zcash or Dash. But Monero is actually one of the actual privacy coins.
Yeah, that's true. Are you one of those who? You're not one of those who consider that the only cryptocurrency which should stay on the market is Bitcoin?
No, I'm okay with other things existing as long as they're not scammy.
Okay, which projects do you consider to be scammy?
Most of them. I think Ethereum is scammy, Bcash is scammy, BSV is scammy. There's so many scams. It's easier to list out the ones that are not scammy.
Okay, my question is still, why Ethereum do you consider to be scammy?
Because there's a massive pre-mine. I think they pre-mined 72 million coins. So everything that's being mined right now is essentially meaningless. It's such a small amount of production compared to the initial pre-mine. It's almost like the bulk of Ethereum is pre-mined, printed for free, and just dumped on the market.
I see. If there was like a supply limited, like with Bitcoin, would you consider Ethereum to be a true cryptocurrency in that case?
Not really. I mean, it's too late. They pre-mined 72 million Ether. And the problem also is that they represent their project very dishonestly. Like they're saying, from launch, they would say, this is very scalable. It's the future. And then I think maybe a month or so ago, they started saying, we knew from day one that this would never scale. And that's very misleading and damaging to people that bought into it thinking that it is actually a scalable, interesting technology.
Uh, are you also interested in new technologies? Maybe you have heard about other than blockchain, which you may share now, which might be one of the next steps in the human evolution.
Like AI?
Well, yeah, but maybe you have some news which you can share now.
I don't know. There's lots of interesting things going on in general. I think Neuralace is interesting. That's like a company that Elon Musk set up.
Yeah.
It's human computer brain interfaces, and it's essentially a way for us to augment our minds in the event we have to go head to head with a malevolent AI.
This is really interesting topic. So would you like your brain to be used like that?
Sure, I could test it.
Really?
Just I don't want to be the first one.
Really? So you feel positive about this?
Yeah, definitely. I think like humans in general are prone to use technology to make themselves better, just like we do with biological advances. We can do the same with technological advances.
But it will be like there won't be like distinction about humans and robots. Like it will be like one unit or one like existing body. How do you feel about that? They are very contradictory actually thoughts on this topic.
Well, some people think that if you augment yourself with something like Neuralace,
Mm-hmm.
it's still so roughly defined. Like we don't know what it's going to be yet,
Yeah.
but they think you'll become less human. But I
Yeah,
think
I think so.
human growth is change, right? So your brain right now is not the same as your brain when you're 10 years old or 5 years old. You've grown over time and you've had changes. So if you had a clone of yourself at 5 years old and talk to yourself, I don't think you'd be recognizable. And adding a technological element like Neuralace doesn't really change that. I mean, you might age 30 years and with Neuralace and you still be different with or without that tech compared to yourself today.
No, that's true. Thank you, Samson. It's really interesting also to listen to your thoughts, not only on Bitcoin, blockchain, and the blockchain technology as it is. Thank you so much. This is the first time I have you here in Blockchain Hub, but hopefully not the last one. And I'll see you at some other conference probably in the future. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Today we had the CSO of Blockstream, Samson Mo. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Maria.